And hello, friends. I am Beth York here with another CADEsport Tuesday racing edition. We have a 3 activity race list today that is going to be a little bit off the hook, if I am saying so myself. So let's get right to our list here. Have a look here. We start with race number 1, 12.6 kilometers or 13 kilometers. It is a medium difficulty, and this is Lake Bend. And you can see there from the elevation map there that there does get a little lumpy, one big climb and comes down with a few little turns. That little corner, that hairpin turn there does make me a little bit nervous, but it does come towards the finish line. So we'll be sure to watch that one and make sure the racers are ready for the finish line. Race number 2 today is 5.4 kilometers, another medium difficulty Lakeview circuit. Now this one is a little bit different. You can see that's a little bit shorter. There'll be different power-ups at play. And again, medium difficulty, so we might see some crashing out there. And on Lakeview circuit, I do believe there are some areas of danger with some obstacles that these racers are going to have to come against. Now on race number 3, the third race of the day here, Dark Matter Spire, one of my favorite sci-fi courses, 7.1 kilometers here. And this race, again, medium difficulty. So all of these races have different aspects, debut different sort of abilities, whether it's your physical strength, your endurance level, or your skill and knowledge of the map. All of these things are going to come into play. And we've seen in the racing the last couple of weeks, those who know, those who study, those who come prepared are the ones that actually tend to do the best out on these courses. So let's talk a little bit about the enhancements that these racers are going to have at their fingertips. Race number 1, that's an inertia power-up. Now, the way that you read these power-ups here is you can see that first number 2, my putting on my glasses and see, that's how many of those inertia power-ups that they will have. The duration is for 20 seconds, and the second one doesn't refill until a minute later. So you do have to kind of use those strategically. So while you're active, your speed remains the same unless you crash. So you can take a little bit of vacation, let off on the legs a little bit, power it up, and just kind of hammer it there, just coast through with a nice 600, 700, 800 watts. Race number 2, corner caper, 2 of those, 10 seconds. Those allow you to kind of coast through the corners without crashing. Lazy boy, one of my favorites, 20 seconds of lovely power and acceleration. And the race number 3, lazy boy, wind at your back, razor's edge, and we'll talk more about those power-ups. But first, we've got about 5 seconds to our first race. Let's go to the start line here. You can see there is the rider list on the right-hand side, and out they go here on board with Sebastian, taking a big punch at the front. Look at those watts, saying, okay, but not to be unmatched. Timothy Tremont said, oh yeah, you know, I am the tactician, I am the skill maker, but I've also got legs, my friend. Really kind of driving it home, hammering out. Julie says, nice job, Timothy. Big thumbs up from Julie. There's Timothy on camera, the nice red background, his blood layer. This is where he takes it seriously. He has that deep color red powering him through the clearance here. Now we can see here, Pedro's not too far behind, Vivica right there, Frank about a second back here. So here we go. Pedro makes the connection, Vivica makes the connection, comes around Timothy and says, I'm going to hang on to Pedro's wheel. He seems to be making some moves. Sean says, nice work there, Pedro, on the front here. Pedro and Vivica leading, putting a pretty aggressive pace in there. You can see on their speed, 46 kph there. That's Vivica on camera. Don't let that angelic face surprise you here, because she is a slayer. Love you, girl. She is a monster slayer. Not only can she like kick some serious butt outside, but in the game, she is an assassin. So she is strategically positioning her avatar there while she's riding her bike. Again, if you're new to this type of racing, the power that she's driving on the legs are translating to algorithms in the game, and they all are able here to stick together in this first group here. We've got Erhan here, one of our regular racers, very methodical. He wears kind of a poker face. You know, that's, I think, the first I've seen him smile. I think he's all business, but now I know I can get a smile out of my friend Erhan here. You can see when we're on board with these racers, their names highlight yellowed. It tells you a little bit about each of the racer. You have their national flag, their flag of origin. You see their speed, their relative heart rates related to each other, and the watts that they're putting out. One of the things in CADEsport is that pro power, and that pro power allows the riders to be calibrated with their power curves so that they can compete. Whether you're a pro cyclist, an amateur cyclist, it's all about effort. Timothy taking a punch off the front, 1200 watts. My gosh, Vibeke answers the call and says, Timothy, I am coming with you. These two teammates are making a move. Frank trying to close that gap down. Pedro, Carl Axo, dropping that inertia power up. You can see those legs slow down a little bit because for 20 seconds, that inertia holds it. That's a smart way to use that power up, is to actually get your power up and then let it hold that power. So Timothy and Vibeke both got a couple seconds off the front here. They're not yet making a connection here, but I think as teammates, they probably will try to get it together. Timothy says, I'm still hammering Vibeke. Come to me, close it up, and let's work together. Now, if these two riders can work together, and maybe Carl Axel and Frank here can make a little coalition of the willing here, then the two of them will be able to close that gap down. I know that Carl has the legs. I know that Frank has the legs. So together they need to try to kind of decide to work together. Otherwise, they're going to bring Pedro, Homer, and Peter Kastrup along with them. Also in the list there, we've got Lisa, Vanessa, Sebastian. But right now, we're on board with Carl Axel on Frank's wheel, and they're still dropping down the power there. They've got 46 kph, but you can see on the front 12 seconds up the road, Timothy and Vibeke on that display on the right hand side, 53 kph. They are cooking, my friends, and that's how you get some separation here. Picking their line, moving to the inside, they see that turn coming around, want to cut that corner nice and tight. Beautifully executed there, coming into the corner, working together. Now, just like in real life, there is a draft in the game. So the two of these two riders can actually work together, have a little bit of savings. It looks like Frank here might have created a little small gap on Carl Axel. Just by a second here, something that Carl will be able to make up, I'm sure, if he drops one of those parps, but he might be holding it. There he is. He's making the connection. That's a good view. Thank you for that, Damon. So you can see on the left-hand side, the location on the maps there of where these riders are out on course. So you can kind of see we've got two off the front, a little bunch behind them, and, there's probably another chase group in the back there that could probably work together as well. Carl, so we've got Homer Thompson, Peter Kastrup, Team CCC with the bright yellow jerseys. Calm, cool, and collected. Yes, they are just tapping it out here. 175 on the relative heart rate, 400. Whoa, we've got a crash there. I saw a little red up there by Vibeke, I believe that was. I don't know what corner was her trick there, but it does look like we had a crash up there. Probably Frank will be able to kind of make up some of that time. So Peter and Homer and Pedro here together. There's Peter. Peter is a very experienced cyclist, very strong cyclist. He's on rollers, and for the uninitiated, rollers are basically a way you put your bike on. You don't have a fixed wheel trainer, and so he's literally riding his bike and balancing it in that doorway there, which is something that I've never tried, to be honest. So Peter, we'll get some tips later on that. But to be racing on rollers in a virtual game with the gyroscope on your handlebars for steering is pretty dang impressive. Peter, keep it up. He's on the front there. I don't know if Homer, if he's going to want to change a little lead. Vibeke now in this group, it looks like as well. So maybe that crash, she kind of dropped back, or we'll see here. 5 kilometers in, 7.7 kilometers to go in this race. Not even halfway there. Timothy off the front here. There's the view there. Timothy on the front, and you can see the chase group there all sort of coming together here. Now, if those folks can work together, Timothy might catch up with Frank and Carl Axel here. They're about, 6 seconds back on the gap here. So Timothy 6 seconds up from Carl and Frank, but and then behind them we've got Homer, Peter, Pedro, and Vivica about 7 seconds back from that. So 13 seconds to the front group isn't a lot to make up, particularly if they take turns pulling on the front. You can see they're lapping the those ghosted riders. There are the cameras out on course, nothing to worry about, nothing to steer around. But Timothy, 570 watts there, bouncing around, 190 on his heart rate. Now, the max heart rate, last I knew in game, is calibrated it to 200. So everybody's heart rate goes in the game, magical mathematics happen, and if my max heart rate in real life is 175, my max heart rate in the game is 200. That way you can kind of have an accurate gauge of, whoa, making a move. Peter drops one. And whoa, Carl Axel says, okay. Everyone says, let's drop those. Vivica drops hers. You can see those gold, glowy things in the background there. That's the power-ups. That's how you know they're being executed. And those riders do not want to lose. But I think Carl Axel said, oh no, you're not coming around me. I am digging. Timothy uses his inertia just to try to really put the nail in the coffin there. 4 seconds back to Carl Axel, but you can see him in the rear view mirror there. If Timothy turned around in this virtual avatar, he would see, but he is watching and he is making sure that he keeps that gap strong. Exactly almost halfway through the race here, and Carl Axel wants to close it down. And Carl Axel left Vivica, Peter, Vanessa. He said, you guys can fight it out for third place. I am going to give Timothy a little bit of a headache. I am not going to let him get too far ahead, not going to let him get comfortable. Carl Axel, Timothy Tremont, and Carl Axel, I've raced with him. He's a former teammate of mine. Very strategic in his racing, in his training. A statistician, always looking at his numbers, really tunes in his training to his body, knows what his body can do, knows when to bring it. So if I were Timothy, I wouldn't get too comfortable up there with just a 4-second gap with him behind me, because I know at any time he can sort of turn on the heat and give me a little bit of a bother. Behind us, there's Carl Axel's avatar, looking pretty comfortable. We did see his video with Timothy, the two front runners here, 6 seconds back. You can see the speed differential here too. That's another thing these riders are looking at. In the right-hand side on the riders list, you can see that Carl Axel 45 kph. You can see Timothy 47 kph. So if I'm Carl Axel, what I need to do is I just need to go faster than the person in front of me, or I'm not going to shut it down. Now, with this course, you have these big sweeping turns, one hairpin turn that could be a spot of bother that I think is maybe what gave Vivica a little bit of a spill. But this is really important. This is Vanessa. She's in third place. She is saying, okay, I'm by myself, but that's okay. I'm comfortable. Her heart rate 175, her power 449. I like what Vanessa's looking. Vanessa had a great win last week, so she's never to be counted out here. 5 seconds back. Okay, so back on board with Homer and Peter. Looks like Peter's coming around saying, I'll take a pull, teammate. Vivica's saying, okay, I'm going to come make connection. I'm going to use these two teammates. Usually, it can be kind of dicey. You're the odd person out when you've got two teammates working together. If she can just drop the hammer and just close up that gap, she can certainly benefit with 4.4 kilometers to go, coasting in on their draft. Now, one thing to say about the draft, this is just like in real life. You know, when you're chasing a wheel and you close into a group and they're still killing it. So sometimes even in the draft, you're on the very edge of your ability. But if you can hang on by a fingernail, that's not a bad thing to do. Close the gap. Back on board here with Timothy Tremont. You can see that gap there, 8 seconds to Carl Axel. So he's opened it up a little bit. His heart rate's coming back down ever so slightly. He was in the 190s. He's 188. Carl Axel letting his heart rate come down, 175. Again, this is not to be counted out. We saw him drop a power up earlier. We know he probably has one in his pocket, not to reveal any secrets, because I'm sure Timothy is counting the cards. I know he counts the cards. He knows who's played what when. So Carl Axel could still present a little bit of a challenge to Timothy, even though 7 seconds up the road, if he used the power up strategically, drop some power and shut it down. But Timothy is just tapping it out here. 400 watts, almost 500 watts, 3.4 kilometers to go. You can see there on the race map on the left-hand side, the placement of these riders on the course. Lower left-hand corner, you can see broadcast. You can see that these riders can communicate to each other in-game. Sometimes there's a team chat. Sometimes you set up something separately and kind of chat it up. And at the end of the races, I do know there's a lot of trash talking going on. So I wish I could be a fly on the wall for that. Right there, you see all of the cameras of the folks that are streaming within the game there, the little thumbnails, so everybody can see each other. They can talk to each other. They kind of know what's going on. And I can tell you, that makes such an amazing difference when you're riding with people in a virtual environment, to be able to interact with them and to see them and to know they're suffering alongside of you. So Head Down by Timothy Termont just has hammering it away. Didn't see a lot of communication. A lot of times he's texting his teammates, kind of being the tactician. There's Vibeke. They might be having a conversation about what to do next. And there's Erhan as we kind of cycle through all of the cameras and let our racers know we see you, we appreciate you, Peter on the rollers, we appreciate all of your efforts in your debut there. So Timothy Termont, Carl Axel drops some power, 760, 800. Timothy Termont sees him. Oh, here we go. I don't need to say I told you so, Timothy, but I told you so. There goes the power up. Boom, Vanessa right on his heels. Carl Axel comes around, makes his move with 2.3 kilometers to go. And Timothy might not have his power up, because I think he used both of his power ups in the early break, but I could be wrong about that. So Carl Axel, don't quote me on that. Don't take my expectations there. 200 on his heart rate. He just maxed it out with 2 kilometers to go. So now the game for Carl Axel is to hold that speed, stay faster than Timothy. Timothy is cooking 195 on his heart rate, working hard to a little bit lower in the watts department, but don't let that fool you, because anything could happen. If he does have another power up, he might be able to play that and give Carl Axel a run. But Carl Axel in the lead right now. Vanessa coming to shut it down too. You can see Vanessa in the rear view saying, okay, Timothy, I will take you. Coming around Timothy. Oh, gonna hold on. Timothy gives a little bit of push, says, get off my wheel. And Vanessa says, you know what? I don't need your wheel, man. I am just gonna cook on right by you. Have my wheel, suck my dust, Timothy. Vanessa looking strong. Timothy saying, okay, fine, you can pull me. Give me a nice lead out, Vanessa, and let me come around. Now, I don't know if these guys are working together and have a secret coalition, but Carl Axel, 12 seconds up the road with 1.2 kilometers to go. I think we're going to see a sprint between Vanessa and Timothy, which will be awesome to see, because I haven't seen that duo go head to head. But Carl Axel, as I said, he let his heart rate come back down to 175 with about 3 or 4 kilometers to go. He settled back. He had a little micro recovery, and then he just strategically pumped the power and dropped that power up and used that speed to come around Timothy and gap him by 11. It looks like Vanessa did drop back a couple seconds, so I'm not sure we'll see that sprint finish, but we'll see. Timothy, we'll see if that happens. Carl Axel, 0.7 kilometers to the finish line. Vanessa here on board with Vanessa. She can see Timothy. Come on, Vanessa. Dig in. You've got this. I know you've got some legs. That a girl. You go. Go. Timothy, don't you get too comfortable, because Vanessa is in beast mode. She says, look out, Timothy. Here I come. Look at her shutting that down. They call it, the commentators, help, not curse, right? take that wheel and come around and just be ready to march it to the end. Carl Axel here, 0.2 kilometers to go. Not going to be answered, but the second and third is up for grabs here. Who's it going to be? Right-hand side of your screen, second and third. Vanessa comes around Timothy. Timothy drops some more power. Hold it, Vanessa. Can she hold it? Carl Axel bringing it to the line. Can Vanessa hold it? Did she start too early? Carl Axel comes. Oh, and Timothy, she crashes Timothy out. Vanessa, strategy right there. He takes the bait. He overcooks. She took a page from the master, my friends. That is something that Timothy has been able to do in the past. Homer comes across the line, and here comes Peter taking fourth place. So that group in the back, 3 and 4, Homer and Peter, nice job working together, coming in. And here comes Sebastian and Lisa. Lisa's a new name. Hey, Lisa, great to see you in the game. Awesome work today. Pedro a little bit further back with Jack and Kay, and these racers, you can see those are might be some lapped racers there that are coming around here because they are invisible. So coming around, and Anna and Jamie, nice to see you guys. Pedro comes across the line. Kay and Shaq sprinting to the end, and by a nose, Shaq takes it, and it looks like Vibeke did suffer the same crash as her teammate there on that last turn before they come across the line. Lots of action here. Here is our finishing results here, our live results. Carl Axel, Vanessa, 6 seconds back from Carl, overtakes Timothy Tremont with a long sprint, brings the speed up and tricks Timothy, and he crashes out on that corner, which was just absolute like a move. Nice work there. Peter Castro in fourth, Homer fifth, Sebastian, Lisa, Pedro, Shaq, Kay, and Vibeke. That's how it shakes out. There might be some other folks on the course. If I didn't call your name, I'm sorry, but I will make sure that I give you a shout out in the broadcast. Nice job here. Now, race number 2, Lakeview Circuit. You can see it's 5.4 kilometers, medium difficulty. It's our mountain bike course. We just came from the road course. Now we're going to a flat mountain bike course with some obstacles, bumpy road, a little bit more road resistance, and definitely some turns there. You can see some sharp 90-degree turns, and if recollection serves, a lot of lane choices that are going to be important in choosing the right line here in race number 2 here on that flat course. There are 2 power-ups in play that these racers will be able to use. There's a Lazy Boy. The Lazy Boy allows you for 20 seconds to hold the power that you last exerted, and so you can kind of kick up the power and hold it for a good 20 seconds, and that was how that works. Okay, so as we look here, this race is going to start in about 20 seconds here. Here's a little preview of the course, those obstacles and the lane selection here. This is what's important. Before you get there is when you need to choose your lane. And this is also a different strategy because you can also have some teamwork in play where you can block someone in the lane while someone goes around the other lane. So your lane positioning is important, not just for crashing, but for getting boxed in, which I've been boxed in on those, and I've said some really, really nasty words. Frank, power, 1,000 watts here, over 1,000 watts, up to 1,200 watts at one point. Boom! Frank is saying, watch me go. Corner caper right out of the gate. Now, he knows how long these last, and so he was able to drop that corner caper to maximize its use. But no, 1 second. I was just seeing, Frank, there's the commentator's curse. Great idea. Here's the replay. So if he had just waited a smidge longer, he would have had that corner caper just to finish out that corner. So ends up sliding out. But great idea. You'd never know how it's going to play out. It's like a game of fractions of when to do that. On board with Sebastian here. He's 37 kph, 178 on his heart rate, just sort of tapping out like what looks to be a pretty comfortable pace, 36 kph. So I'm paying attention to sort of from a commentator side, what the speeds are in these corners. And I think that's also what the racers are doing. So if you were coming to this race and you're like, well, how fast do I have to go? Or how fast can I go? Watching what the other racers are doing is important. Lisa takes a little digger on board here with Pedro. You can see them lining up and making sure they're in the lane of choice here. So as Pedro comes up and closes it down on Sebastian there, choosing the lane, you can see Timothy saying, I don't want to be right behind Pedro because I want to come around Pedro. I don't want him to get in my way. And Frank here, nice recovery, Frank, on after that little crash, because this is a short course. If I remember, it was oh, Frank goes down. I will not say your name again, Frank. I will not. I just did. Dang it. Erhan here on board with Erhan. Frank uses his lazy boy here to get himself back up to speed here. A little bit of congestion here coming into the corner with Vanessa, Vivica, all of these folks here together. Oh, Lisa goes down. It's all right, Lisa. Get right back up, dust yourself off, rub a little dirt on it. This group is all together here, choosing the lane. Now, this is where it can get dicey. So if you're on a road course and you have a group to work with, you hold the wheel, that makes a lot of sense. But if you're in the wrong position when you enter the part of the course where, saw that, Vanessa and Jack, boom, together. They just sort of decided, let's hold hands and go off the side. No, they didn't. That wasn't on purpose. Timothy, here he is coming across on the first lap here, adds a little power, takes that front position again, but now he has to hold it. This is a race that's less about sheer power. It's more about power at the right time, speed at the right time, and making sure that you don't, 50 kph was just too much, I think. I don't know if that's how fast he was going. Dropped it a little bit early, maybe. You can see on the course on the left-hand side there, the best place to maybe drop those power, the lazy boy is on the straightaway, and then use the corner capers in the corner. But I think these racers are just kind of overcooking the corners. Even with the corner capers, they're expiring because of the rate of how those turns, one turn comes up and another turn comes up and another turn comes up. So maybe what I would do is I would maybe wait to the second turn, enter the second turn, and then drop the power up and use it for 2 of the 3 rather than trying to get it to work for all 3 of those corners. So my math is a little bit fuzzy right now, but that might be something to work here. So Sebastian is nice and tight here with Timothy, saying, I'm just going to make him a little bit nervous here. I'm not going to be too aggressive. I'm just going to hang out with him. Carl Axel, not to be counted out here, 1 second back, making sure they have the right lane selections coming in. Here's a replay here on Vivica coming around the corner here. Power up, expired, and then slid out. So that was sort of what I was discussing about what can happen with the power up. It just runs out of time. That 20-second clock happens faster than you think it does here. And then it looks like Carl Axel here does drop his power up into the straightaway, has his lane choice. Frank right behind him says, I'll take a little bit of a pull there, my friend. Thank you so much. Hanging on to the wheel there. Frank will be strategic and use that wheel. Back on front, Timothy here, 192 on the heart rate. Don't let the avatars fool you. They look relaxed and calm, but when you see their cameras, you know that they are working. But right now, 280 to 400 watts. Sebastian comes around, 2.2 kilometers to go here. So now what's going to be interesting here for me is I really don't know what power-ups Sebastian has. And Sebastian is definitely ace poker player. We can see that power up there, corner caper. Look at coming through all that speed. But Pedro, right idea, wrong time. Just off by a smidge. Almost had it. I love to see the racers experiment here and just go with it. Now, when your heart rate is 187, 190, 189, it's very, very hard to sort of math. Time warp happens. It's like this weird thing where it's very difficult to understand the passage of time because you're so busy trying not to hurt and to try to focus on the screen at what the other racers are doing. So it's very easy to not get that timing right. So Timothy and Sebastian here, 1 and 2. Carl Axel, 5 seconds back. 1.5 kilometers to go on this mountain bike course. Let's see who's got not only the legs but the tactics here. Sebastian didn't I'm sure he worked hard in the last race, but we know Timothy maybe probably worked harder because he was at the front trying to hold that position. So we might see that Sebastian has a little bit more kick in his legs than Timothy. And I don't want to put Timothy into a box because we know he's got some legs too. And this is where the training comes into play. How many times can you kick the crap out of your legs, punches? Whoa, no, Sebastian takes a digger. Oh boy, that's got to sting a little bit. That's all right. He's not going to lose his calm, cool, or collected nature. 1 kilometer to go with Timothy in the front. He drops that power up on the straightaway, tries to get a little bit of space, capitalize on that crash by Sebastian, since this is a perfect time to sort of make up a little bit of a road here, get a little bit up the road. But Sebastian is only 2 seconds back. Whatever he did to close that down, which is maybe the punch in his legs, you can see his heart rate's a little bit higher than Timothy's. So I'm sure he just sort of decided to turn himself to kind of give it a punch. And again, the training here, we are in pro power, which allows these racers to have a level playing field, but that does not account for their training, right? How many times can you just push it to super threshold? How many times can you just sort of, just burn a match? How many matches do you have? And how many matches do you have when, you've got all of this brain work going on, right? So both of them drop the corner caper here, 0.3 kilometers to go. Let's see here. I'm not counting backwards. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Up, there they go. Both of them go down. Dudes, I was counting. A little early. Got to take the notes. I'm going to sharpen my pencil. I'm going to write that down. 20 seconds feels like 15 in the game. Timothy on the front. 2 seconds back for Sebastian. Will Sebastian be able to get enough legs to do it? Drops that last power up, but turns out to be just a second or two too late. Nice fight there. Carl Axel comes in. It's going to come across the line in third. Frank is about 5 seconds back, and then Pedro. Now, this is interesting, too, because you can notice that. There we go. Congratulations, Frank. I know it holds your head and cry. Victor is saying, well done, Pedro. And as I look down the line, everybody's about 5 or 6 seconds apart. So I'm sure there was a lot of different crashes going on. Shaq still out on course here. Shaka-laka-laka. Vibeke right behind her. We've got Peter. Lloyd is a new name in there. Lloyd, thanks for coming out and racing today. David Tobin, I think he's a legend, cycling legend. I remember reading that on his rider card. Vibeke, of course, coming across the line here, tapping it out, letting her heart rate get back into control, just holding that position in front of Peter Kastrup. Lloyd here coming across the line. Dave, looks like David had a crash right before, gives him a little clap as he comes across the line, settles back in, and all of these racers are going to be moving on to our third and final race of today's racing. And here's how it shapes up for race number 2. Timothy takes the win on this one. Sebastian in second. Both of them crashing out side by side. What a piece of that was just beautiful. So who got their legs back up to speed faster was Timothy. Carl Axel just 10 seconds back. Frank, Pedro, Homer, Shaq, Vibeke, Lloyd, David, Peter, and Vanessa. Nice racing by all here. So now we've got 2 races in the tank. We've got the third race on Dark Matter Velo. Now, Dark Matter Spire, not Velo, Spire. So this is a hilly course. It's 7.1 kilometers at medium difficulty. Again, we did see that there are, I think there were 3 power-ups at play on this race here. So this is going to be strategic because Dark Matter Spire does have that big lumpy hill. You can see there in the race on the bottom left-hand side, you can see that elevation, it goes up and comes back down. So I think these racers are going to be very strategic about where they do them. Now, here are the 3 power-ups. Thanks for throwing that up for everyone at home to see. Lazy Boy, there's 1. Wind at your back, there's 1. Razor's Edge, there's at 1. So while active, 20 seconds. These are the abilities that it gives you for 20 seconds. Lazy Boy, 420 watts, no matter how hard you pedal. So you can completely stop pedaling for 20 seconds. Great one to use on that climb if you're thinking about it. Wind at your back. You have a wind at your back that gives you more speed. And then Razor's Edge, you are super aero. It just gives you a reduced air resistance. So one each of those that they're going to have. So if I were a betting human, which I occasionally am, I would definitely be sure to be counting the cards, letting know who plays what when with this race. Here we go. Out of the gate. Now, this course is looking so awesome since the last time I've raced it. Look at that depth. Look at the lighting coming around the corner from our helicopter cam air hunt bottom left-hand corner here. You can see the road twist and turn. Sebastian out there in front here. Timothy trying to close it down. Sebastian has, I think he's saying, you know what? This is my race. The first two, you know, I have more in my legs. I am ready to go. And Sebastian's one of those racers that he could have 3 hours of races in his legs and he's still super dangerous. So gonna watch out for that. Frank on the front saying, okay, boys and girls, I'll take a little bit up here on the front, take my wheel, and then, but watch out. I think Frank's positioning himself wisely here. Oh, but Timothy comes around, Peter comes around. They're anticipating Frank's move and they're shutting it down. Frank was at the front of the pack. You know, Frank doesn't mind taking a pole, but he's usually doing that with a strategy in mind. So here we are on board with Timothy, you know, looking pretty cheerful right now. I feel like Timothy's had a good day. He's feeling pretty confident. He's knowing what to do again. Yes, strong. And he's looking really good. Got Peter right behind him. There's Peter on camera, also looking very comfortable, looking very focused. You can see he is, as I've mentioned earlier, if you're watching the broadcast, he's on rollers, which means his bike is not fixed. A lot of the trainers, most of the trainers, either you take your back wheel off or you put your bike into it, but you don't have to worry about balancing your bike. You're pedaling. So on rollers in game makes it like incredibly impressive and challenging, but it's very much like riding outside on those rollers makes you really great balance here. So 5.5 kilometers, we're 1.5 kilometers in. On board here with Peter. This is Peter's point of view. You can see that we've got Timothy here in front of Peter and behind Peter, pardon me, and just kind of tapping it out here 3 seconds up the road. Behind him we've got Pedro and Vanessa and Carl. Sebastian looks like all within 1 second of each other in that chase group. Ooh, boop. We saw boom, 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 boom. All I did was mention their names and they just flew off the corner. Oh my goodness, ragdolling off the ledge. Thank goodness for the bounce proof kits in game. So they are, if you didn't know that, they are bounce proof. So when you fall off, you bounce right back up after a couple seconds here. Here we are on board with Timothy. You can see the other riders in the bottom right-hand corner in the little thumbnails here. 4.7 kilometers to go, making the turns. Oh, wow. I didn't even say your name, Timothy. I saw you nod here. Opening the door for Pedro to come around and Sebastian here. Timothy's going to get back on. Again, there's no corner capers in this game, in this map. We talked about one lazy boy. We talked about one razor's edge. We talked about one wind at your back. So I haven't seen a lot of these power-ups come into play yet. So I am imagining that we're going to just see a feast of crazy power-ups being dropped. And, you know, sometimes you go into a race like this and you have a plan. You're like, okay, when I go up the climb, I'm going to drop the lazy boy, and then I'm going to get over the top, and then I'm going to do the razor's edge, just telling you what I do. And then I'm going to try to like get that gap separation, because when other people are climbing and you're coming over the top, you have an opportunity to open up a gap. But when someone else drops a power-up that you weren't expecting and you've got to either answer or decide to stick to your plan, sometimes you can't stick to your plan, and sometimes being too rigid with what you're going to do can actually mess you up. So it's important to stay flexible, to be nimble in these games, to be, paying attention to what others are doing and have a plan, but also have a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. I'll stop singing. All right. Here we are. This group is looking nice and tight, but we've got David Tobin up at the front. The legend, David Tobin. Frank says, gives him a big old heart, says, loves you, man. Way to do it. Way to just kind of take the lead. 2 seconds back. He's got to keep this lead here. David Tobin on board with him. We haven't seen him on camera, but we know he's working hard. You can see his heart rate, 183, 49 kph, compared to the 47 of the group behind him. So this is one of the things where you want to keep that speed up. You want to keep pressing, but you also want to be careful for the corners, because we did see some people slide right off into the abyss. But thanks to the bounce-proof kits in game, they were able to bounce right back up here. Side by side here, Timothy on the right-hand side. Timothy is trying to shut it down. Timothy trying not to take anyone with him, but people are going to take his wheel. So you make a decision when you're going to chase down the leader, depending on if you have teammates in the, Timothy said, I knew it. That was my plan all along. Howard gives Timothy a thumbs up. Well played, Timothy. So in that situation, David overcooked it a little bit because he could feel the heat of the pack coming and closing behind him, and he just sort of lost the sense of speed, and he went over the side, and Timothy was able to overtake it. So here we go. We do see that power up there. Timothy is using his power up. So I can't see who that rider is. I think it might be just Timothy, but that's the lazy boy. David Tobin back on with the group. Just holding that power for 421 watts for 20 seconds just gives them a little bit of recovery. Pedro takes a digger, goes down. That's tricky. When you're in a group like that, you're like, wait a minute, how did I go down? Just overcooked it ever so slightly. And that's the thing, when you're outside on the road, you're like, what wheels do you trust? In game, what wheels you trust have to do with following, or they can fake you out. Someone in front of you, you think, I'm going to get on Timothy's wheel. He knows the course. He's going to do what he needs to do, but he puts on the brakes at the right time, just slows enough, and then you're still cooking it behind him, trying to hold on to his wheel, and it's a bait. It's a bait. Don't let Timothy bait you. He's so smart and cagey. I got to get myself back in the game and dust off my cobwebs here, because this is just looking too fun. Whoa, Timothy comes around, says, okay, David, want to play again? Let's go. 920 watts, 1,000 watts. Timothy is hammering the power with 1.5 kilometers to go. This, oh my gosh, that was a sprint intensity to come around. He's settling back in. He's screaming. He's saying, I can do it. Yes, I can do it. Go. He's opening. Don't open your mouth too much. You don't want to cup too much air and slow yourself down. Dig. Oh, drops the power up from behind him. David. And oh boy, here, Timothy. Now he's got David on his tail with the wind at his back. He's coming around the side. He made that last second lane decision. Might have lost a little bit of speed there by closing the gap behind Timothy and not coming around him soon enough. Carl Axel says, you guys play around all you want. I'm going to take it 1 kilometer to go. So right now, Timothy and David behind. Okay, you can see behind. Oh, there we go. Little bit of wind at your back there. Coming around, says, don't count me out. I am Timothy, the Terminator. What, the Terminator? Timothy the Terminator? Terminator. I'll figure out how to say that. 0.6 kilometers to go. Carl Axel and Timothy, a familiar head-to-head here. David also in the mix here. Which of these three riders wants it best? With 0.4 kilometers to go. Whoa! Well, it's not going to be David. David just flew off the end. Okay, so now it's back to Timothy, Carl. David wanted it so much that he didn't just lost control of the speed here. We'll get better at that one as you go. Dark Matter Spire. Oh boy, Wind at Your Back by Carl Axel. Drops the power, but Timothy, 1200 watts. He is overpowering. Even with the wind at his back, just wasn't enough road. Yay! You can see the reaction. Oh my gosh, look at that reaction from Timothy Tremont and Carl Axel just turning himself inside out all of these races. Sebastian coming in third. David, well done there at the front. That is how you do it, David. Don't hold your head like that. You know why? Because if you don't take chances, if you don't go fast and take chances, you're never going to get to the front of the pack. You have to do that. You have to be aggressive, and you just have to temper that aggressiveness in the game. Homer coming across the line, Pedro coming across the line. I know my friend Doc was talking about the transportation department putting up some guardrails so these riders don't fall off the edge, but I'll tell you, I enjoy that. That's a fun thing to watch. Call me a sicko if you want. That's okay. All right, everyone is coming off the line. I love it. All right, so here is the board for today. All right, we've got Timothy, who just took that race by a second with Carl Axel. Carl Axel, with the wind at his back, just didn't have enough road to close it down. Great finish by both of those riders. Sebastian and David right there in it. David had an opportunity. It was anybody's game. Just kind of cooked it on the corner a couple times, but nice recovery, David. That was amazing. Homer, Pedro, Lloyd, Vivica, Shaq, Vanessa, and Lisa. Congratulations to all of these racers in race 3 here. That was quite a show here. And on the day, our live results: CADEsport Tuesday Racing, race 1. Carl Axel comes out on top. Vanessa, second place. Timothy, third place. Race number 2, Timothy, Sebastian, Carl Axel. And then race number 3, Timothy, Carl Axel, Sebastian. So, this is shaping up for a very interesting race on Thursday, if you ask me, because there's going to be some pride and ego on the line. I love it. I love it. All right, so that's going to do it for today's edition of CADEsport Racing. I'm Beth York. We look forward to seeing you on Thursday for all of the race action. And I should have a heart rate monitor on me because that was some exciting racing. So, all right, my friends, we will see you on Thursday.